Well, good evening, everyone. It's me, your host, Damien Castillo, back again for another installment of Third Coast Sports, Entertainment, and Life. And again, just as in the prior video, the life portion, L-I-F-E, not life portion of this channel is going to be where the focus is and where my focus lies and what I speak on. I believe that what I'm going to speak on this evening makes for a very interesting, very important topic, one that is very important to understand because I'm going to get into self-esteem, irrational beliefs, insecurities, but really what I'm going to get into more than anything is passive-aggressive behavior, because passive-aggressive behavior is one of the most toxic characteristics that there can be in a person. And I know that because for the longest time, I myself was not just but the poster child for passive-aggressive behavior. If you looked up passive-aggressive behavior in the dictionary, they could have easily said, talk to this guy right here. Watch how he acts. Pay attention to how he behaves. Pay attention to how he treats others. And you'll understand exactly what passive-aggressive behavior is. But it's very important to understand it because if we understand passive-aggressive behavior and what we are looking at and what we are seeing, we especially, like say at the early stages of a relationship, a friendship, we can be very careful in maybe not letting that relationship go too far if we see those red flags of passive-aggressive behavior, which is definitely followed greatly by bundles and bundles and bundles worth of insecurities, feelings of inadequacy, just all types of issues with a person just being manipulative, being, for the most part, compulsive liars, being scorekeepers, meaning anything that you do that they feel wrongs them in some way, shape, or form, that passive-aggressive person, it doesn't matter if it takes them 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, they will remember every single wrong or slight done to them, and they will forever look for an opportunity to pay you back and get even. So it is very important that we understand this behavior because I believe it's one of the most prevalent behavior styles. I'm trying to search for a different word to describe, but I think behavior style or patterns of behavior, I believe passive-aggressive behavior is the most prevalent makeup for a person's personality. And so we're going to talk about that, because I think it's really, really important that we understand what passive-aggressiveness looks like, what it can sound like, because here's the thing, guys, I'm definitely jumping far ahead. But the thing about passive-aggressive behavior, and you'll know just from this right here, what I'm about to say, if you've ever been in a relationship with a passive-aggressive person, this will tell you right, or if you are in one, this will tell you it right now. The greatest magic trick of a passive-aggressive person is to mess up or to do you wrong, to totally do something that they are 100% responsible for, but yet by the time they are done telling their side of the story and what really happened, even though they're 100% in the wrong, they'll have people apologizing to them. They're that good. We have always been that good at twisting things around and flipping things around to the point that after you call me out on what I've done to you, after you call me out on my behavior and try to hold me accountable, I'll actually have you feeling sorry for me. I'll actually have you feeling sorry that you, and I don't mean like as in pitying me, but feeling sorry as in, oh my God, I can't believe I talked to him like that. I can't believe I treated him like that. When all you were doing was holding me out accountable and calling me out on my nonsense. But that's the biggest trick of a passive-aggressive person, is if they twist things around and get the other person that they wronged to apologize and to feel bad that you call them out, when in fact we should call them out. We should hold them accountable. But we, as passive aggressive people, that's the biggest trick that we use constantly on people, is getting other people to apologize to us for what we did. We're the ones that messed up. We're the ones that created the mess that we're here talking about, discussing, arguing about, whatever it is. And yet I have you apologizing to me. I have you feeling bad for the fact that you were simply trying to hold me accountable and have me take responsibility for what I did. But the problem is that a passive aggressive person will refuse to ever take responsibility for their actions. But if they do, I guarantee you it'll only be for the reasons of getting self-pity from someone, or getting pity from someone, or getting somebody to feed into their self-pity, and somebody's calling me out on my behavior, somebody's calling me out on what I did. Man, my parents always treated me like this and always talked to me like this. I can't believe that you would talk to me like this. I can't believe that you would do me like this. I can't believe that you say that you love me, but you look at how you're treating me. Look at how you're doing me. And everybody in my life always does this to me. Everybody in my life always treats me like this. Well, maybe because everybody in your life is tired of your nonsense, and that's why they all treat you like this. And that's why they've all tried to hold you accountable and make you take responsibility for your actions, but you refuse to. Because, passive-aggressive people are the folks that, and we may all know somebody that fits this saying of mine, when I tell someone, I'm sorry, but everything cannot always be someone else's fault. Somewhere there has to be a line where you begin to take responsibility for what you do, because everything cannot always be someone else's fault. So we're going to talk about passive-aggressive behavior. We're going to talk about unhealthy habits in people, in relation. But the problem with it is this: passive-aggressive people are some of the most charming people you will ever meet. They know how to charm you. They know how to talk a good game. They know how to smooth you, and all the while it's like a big boa constrictor. They're just wrapping themselves around you, and then once they have wrapped themselves around you, now they're in prime position to end up squeezing the life out of you. All right, squeezing the joy out of you. So there's a lot that we're going to talk about tonight. Now, I'll tell you guys this. The reason, let me back up. Hold on. I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to tell you all where my passive-aggressive behavior was rooted in, because there's always a root cause for just about everything, right? So passive-aggressive behavior in itself has a root cause, which leads me to, the thing of addiction and substance abuse, whether it be alcohol or drugs. It's alcoholism is just an addiction to alcohol, all right? So addiction, alcohol abuse, substance abuse, whatever you want to call it. Most often, there's an underlying issue when a person falls into substance abuse, addiction, alcohol abuse, alcoholism, some type of underlying issue. Because now, keep in mind, there's a difference between physical dependence and addiction. Somebody can become physically dependent upon a medication that their doctor prescribes for them because, hey, I've been on this medicine for 6 months now, 9 months now, a year now, after my operation, after my surgery, after whatever the case may be, I need to get off of it. Well, you try stopping just from one day to the next, your body is going to put you through some stuff. So there has to be a weaning process, weaning down, cutting back on the regimen. I'm on a regimen of maybe 40 milligrams of hydrocodone a day. Okay, I got to go from 40 to 35, 35 to 30. Then once I'm at 30, I'm feeling good, maybe I can try 20. And if 20 is too big of a jump, okay, then I'll do 25, and then 20, and keep on going. So tapering is another word used by doctors. Tapering down, weaning down, either one of those. But there, we have to understand that there is a difference between dependence, physical dependence, and addiction. Because there are plenty of people that have dependencies to drugs, to medications, to certain things, but they're not addicts because they don't have the brain of an addict. They don't have the wiring, so to speak, of an addict. They are dependent upon this substance. So with that being said, like I said, there's usually always an underlying issue that brought that person to begin with self-medicating, right? Because I have all these bad memories from my childhood that made me angry, make me depressed, bring about a lot of hurt, confusion, all this type of stuff. So I began self-medicating with alcohol. I began self-medicating with pills. I began self-medicating with, illegal drugs, whatever it is. And it's all well and good because what that does in that moment, and I'm going to get to this in a big way in a second, what that does in that moment is it gives me control over something. And ultimately, that is what I am seeking is control. I am looking for control over anything because maybe my life is out of control in the moment, or what I'm going to get to here in just a bit, somewhere in my past was a moment, day, whether it be a one-time moment, whether it be weeks, months, years, whatever it was, where there was no control over some particular instance in my life. So I'm going to get into that. But as I was saying, so I began self-medicating, right? And the thing about that, self-medicating with alcohol, with drugs, is that at first it feels good. Why? Because I can control it. I can control the when, I can control the how much, and I control the if I use it or if I don't, whatever. But then what ends up happening is I like the way it makes me feel, but all of a sudden I get into an area where I need a little bit more to feel the way that I want to feel. There's more bad dreams, there's more bad memories, there's more just things that I want to avoid thinking about, things that I want to get away from, things that I wish had never happened. And so now I need more of it. All right. And then I need a little bit more. Well, long story short, what ends up happening is that one thing that I had control of, which was my drug use, my alcohol use, all of a sudden is out of control. And it flips and turns on me from something good, something that I enjoyed, something that served a purpose in my life. And it now has taken control over me. All right. So it just becomes another thing in my life that I cannot control. And that brings me, brings me pain, brings me many uncomfortable feelings because I want to stop, can't stop, don't know how to stop, don't know where to start. So there's a lot to it. But now here's what I want to get to. I'm going to turn the camera just a little bit so I can adjust my chair. Here's the thing that I want to get to. The thing with, as I said, there's usually underlying issues there for sure. Sorry, I'm over here looking at this LED light, not into the camera. So you guys are probably like, where's his eyes at? What is he looking at? As I said, the underlying issues. And I'll give you an example. For me, it was growing up in a household where domestic violence was the norm. Okay, that it was just normal. Dad would get drunk. He'd come home drunk. Never knew what was going to happen. Many times there's going to be a beating for my mom. He never beat on us as children, thankfully, but he definitely did take a lot out on my mom. There was definitely a ton of physical abuse to go along with the verbal abuse, emotional abuse. But yeah, there was tons of physical abuse. And the house that we grew up in, the walls were really thin. So like I tell people in my classes when I teach my different classes that I teach for adults, when you live in a house where domestic violence is the norm and the walls are very thin, there are many things that you can never unsee. There are many things that you can never unhear. There's a very particular sound to someone's fist hitting a person over and over and over again. You learn to know what that sounds like. and when you're a child, you even begin to kind of be trained mentally to know, it's Friday night, dad should have been home 30 minutes ago. He's still not here. Man, is it going to be one of those nights, right? Now it's another hour's past. It's time to come inside from playing because the sun's starting to go down. Dad's still not home. Man, this may not be a very good night. Now all of a sudden we've all taken our showers, had dinner, got cleaned up. Time to go to bed. So now another hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is, have passed. Dad's still not home. This may not be a very good night for sure. So we go to our rooms to go to bed. But how much are you really sleeping that night when you're a kid whose dad has not come home, and you know that on nights that he does not come home on time, chances are he's going to come home drunk, he's going to come home angry, and he's going to take it out on your mother. So all that stress in and of itself is a lot to put on a child, to put on a young child. And we were young children when we were living this life. So that the trauma, the stress, yes, you better believe it stays with you. You better believe that it turns you into something that eventually you will live just to damage other people. You will live just to ruin other people. You will live to, I got to a point in my life where I had to ask myself, why is it that I have so much good in my life, yet all I exist to do is ruin it. All I exist to do is tear it up and destroy it. Why? Why can I not be happy with what I have, satisfied with what I have? I have to find a way to undo myself. I have to find a way to ruin it. Well, that in and of itself, on a little side note, is I believe also a big problem. So if you guys, want to take a little note, take some notes or whatever on some of this stuff, hear me out on this one right here. Now, there's nothing wrong with being happy. There's nothing wrong with feeling happy. There's nothing wrong with feeling satisfied. But the problem is that we are fooled and tricked into chasing happiness and chasing satisfaction all the time, right? The problem with chasing happiness and satisfaction is that happiness and satisfaction are fleeting. So once we attain or take hold of happiness and satisfaction, it's just a matter of time before it's gone. The example I give is puppy dogs. We have 2 dogs in our household, and we love them very dearly. We love them very, very much. They are very playful, make us laugh, just got wonderful personalities. But I would say, you come home and you see your dog and you're super happy to see your dog. So you take him outside to go potty and this and that. And then you bring him in and he's happy to see you. You're happy to see him. But 5 minutes after taking him outside, he's about to he takes a massive poop in the house. All of a sudden, I'm not all that happy with you, buddy. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to abuse my animal or abuse my dog, go nuts on him. No, it doesn't mean like that. It's just going to be like, really, buddy? Really? You got to do me like that? I just had you outside for 10 minutes, man, 15 minutes, and you got to do me like this? So now I was super happy, and all of a sudden I'm not that happy. Now I'll be happy again with him in just a few minutes because that's going to wear off, and I realize, hey, whatever it was, he didn't go when he was out there, and then all of a sudden he had the urge to go, so he went, So I'm not going to go off on him and go nuts, but my point being, I was happy with him, then all of a sudden not so happy with him, then happy with him again. So it's just an up and down thing. Always happy, unhappy, happy, unhappy, happy, unhappy, happy about this, not happy about that. Happy about this, not very happy about that. Very happy about this, very, very not happy about that. Same thing with satisfaction. Certain things I'm very satisfied at the moment. Well, guess what? I just had the best meal of my life. So my body, my mind, my brain, my belly is super, super satisfied. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to live off of that one wonderful meal for the rest of my life. Here in a few hours, I'm going to be hungry again and need something to eat and need to resatisfy my need for food and my need for a meal. So my point is that yes, it's good when we feel happy, and we should appreciate those moments and love those moments and cherish and remember those moments. Same thing with satisfaction. But what we really should chase after, what we really should seek is contentment. Living a life of contentment. Because with contentment, we can be here, we can be there, we can have this, have that, not have this, not have that, but still be content and appreciative. Because living a life full, and I'm talking about where contentment fills you on the inside, in your heart and your mind, and it drives you, and you just feel great because you're a content human being, you're a content person. Being where you are, having what you have. I'm so content that, no, life isn't perfect, but my children are healthy, my wife is happy, and our marriage is strong. We have a roof over our heads. And so many things to be content about, right? And then something not so good happens, or we lose this, or we lose that. It's okay. There's definitely a blow when it's not good. But when you're full of contentment, you realize, you know what? This is a setback, not the end of the world. This may even be a disaster, but it didn't kill me. So living a life of contentment, choosing to be a content person, and it's a choice. It's a choice that we make to be a content person is very important, because with contentment, something that usually almost always follows contentment and training oneself, disciplining oneself to be content, to live a content life, something that almost always follows contentment is peace, number one. So peace comes with contentment. So then if I now have contentment and peace filling me up every day of my life, what comes along with that after that is joy. So now I'm content, full of contentment, full of peace, and now joy comes. And now I'm full of joy. And people wonder, like, man, you act like there's nothing wrong in your life. You act like nothing's wrong in your world. What's your secret? I don't got a secret, man. I go through just the same things that everybody else does. I sometimes got months where I don't even know how to pay my bills, or bills go unpaid and I got to figure out, or whatever it is. But, I choose to just be content in all situations. And so choosing to be content, it keeps my mind on the right thing, keeps my heart in the right place. So it helps me stay at peace. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. That's one of the greatest things about choosing to live a life of contentment, is that peace that it brings. And then when that peace is there, I can still have joy regardless of what I have or don't have, regardless of what I gain or what I lose, regardless of what is given to me or what is taken from me. Yeah, I mean, I said the other last video, if you guys watch, you're talking about a man that has lived through 3 brain surgeries and multiple other things. My life has been through a lot. My family has been through a lot. But yet I choose to live a life where I try my best to remain content in situations. It doesn't always happen that way, but I try my best. I'm gonna get back to what I was talking about with my upbringing here in just a second. But we have 3 children. My oldest daughter is 23 years old. My son is 20. My youngest just turned 17 at the end of March. At the end of March. When I got to the end of March. Let me try that again. My oldest daughter is 23. My son is 20. My youngest daughter is 17. She turned 17 at the end of January. And, we're a pretty content family. Pretty happy family many times, joyful family. Perfect family? No, there's no such thing as perfect family, because no parent is perfect, no marriage is perfect, no children are perfect, Good few years ago, maybe more than 12 years ago, I believe it was. 12 to 13 years ago, because my oldest daughter will be 24 in May, so she's going on 24. So somewhere between 12 to 13 years ago, our lives changed forever. And I'll get a little more in depth into this story down the road in another video. But maybe I'll have her with me and we'll tell the story together, or have her share her story. 12 to 13 years ago, my oldest daughter was molested by an uncle. That uncle was my sister-in-law's, my wife's sister's now ex-husband. It was a one-time incident. But that one-time incident changed her life forever, my daughter's life forever, changed our family forever, stole so much from us, robbed so much from us, got my daughter into self-harm and cutting herself. Do you know how hard it is to see your children do harm to themselves, physical harm to themselves? I used to always tell my daughter, I tell her, you are one of the most beautiful things that I ever have or ever will create. Do you know how much I hate to see you hurt yourself when you are the most beautiful creation, the most beautiful thing that I could ever possibly create, and yet you're harming yourself? We got to fix this. We got to get this taken care of. You know, I mean, there's very few things as a parent that hurt you more than that. And I'm not comparing it to the pain that she carries and the nightmares that she still has and the anxiety and things that she lives with because of this. You know, it was like I said, it was life altering. Last video I shared with you all about a nephew of mine that took his life, hung himself in my father-in-law's backyard. Well, it happened to be that nephew, his father, that molested my daughter. Long story short, I hadn't seen this man in forever. You know, last time I saw him, he was in my home under my roof, talking and eating and acting like he hadn't done nothing to my. We didn't know. None of this had come out yet. So there he was under my roof, eating at my table, talking and laughing all the while without knowing what he had done to my daughter. And then all of a sudden it all came out. And like I said, in another video, I'll share how it came out and what all went into it and things of that nature. But it's a lot to handle as a parent because you question yourself as a father. You're the protector, the head of the household, the protector of your family, protector of your household. How do you let this happen to your child? What do you do? How do you react? Do you react with aggressiveness? Do you react with violence? Do you react with what? What do you do? You know, and we worked to put things back together, put our family back together, put our household back together. The next time that I saw this man was at my nephew's funeral. I wasn't sure what I was going to feel, what I was going to think when I saw him. I wasn't sure how I was going to react. So, you know, him and his family are on this side. My wife's family is on this side, and we're all sitting there. Because like I said, of course, by this point, they had been long divorced, him and my sister-in-law. And so we're sitting on this side of the church, and he's sitting on that side of the church, and they're having us come up and to view my nephew for the last time before they close the casket. So we walk up there, and then we turn around to walk back to our pews where we were sitting. Well, as my wife peels off to go back to where we were sitting, I went the other way, and I approached him. He stood up. I walked up to him, and I just extended my hand out to shake his hand, and then I put my arms around him and gave him like a pretty big hug, a pretty generous hug. He hugged me back, and all he said was, "Thank you for always being the person that you've been. Thank you for being the man that you are. I know my son looked up to you. I know he loved you very much. And I just want to say thank you for always being such a great person and being the man that you are." And I just told him, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. James is going to be missed. My kids loved him. They're really hurting right now because of how much they loved him. Everybody's hurting because we loved him so much. And that was how I dealt with that. How I was able to do something like that, I don't know. But I believe it was my choice to live a life of contentment, that I could be looking straight into the eyes of the man that molested my daughter and not feel rage, not feel the need to go on the attack, not feel the need to do anything crazy at a funeral, but instead to shake his hand and give him a hug and give him my condolences personally. The reason why? Well, I mean, you don't exist to me, bro. So that means you definitely don't live in my head rent free. And furthermore, now that this has happened, the only thing that you are to me is a man who lost a child. Just the same as I lost a child. The difference is I lost my child at your hands. You lost your child for good, unfortunately, when my nephew passed. But I lost my child in a sense. Again, like I said, I'll talk more about that, what I mean when I say stuff like that. But I lost my child because we were never the family that we once were. She was never the person that she once was. That trajectory changes forever. Does that mean that we can't be a happy, content family? No, it doesn't mean that. Does it mean that she can't be a happy, content person? No, it doesn't mean that. Does it mean that I have to feel like a horrible, crappy father for the rest of my life? No, it definitely doesn't. And I choose, and I don't. I will not. I will not. But, that's another thing. I always say in my classes, and I always say to people, life happens, and it happens to all of us. And the reason I can say that without feeling like I'm being cold or not caring about people or caring about life is that I've lived through just about anything that there is to live through. And that's why I say life happens. It happens to all of us. Like I said, when you grow up in a house full of domestic violence, that was life happening to me and my 4 younger sisters. Always wishing we could protect our mom. Always wishing we could stop the chaos and put an end to it. But we couldn't. I remember one time in particular, and I tell this story in my classes as well, that it was almost like an out-of-body experience because this particular night my dad had already been beating on my mom for a good little while. And then she had long hair all the way to her backside, maybe even further. It was long hair, and she would keep it in a braid. And I had to be there watching, and me and my sisters watching him as he had her braid wrapped around his hands, and he was dragging her on the ground like a sack of potatoes, like a piece of meat. I mean, I don't even drag my dog around like that. And he was dragging another human being, the mother of his 4 daughters, his wife. He was dragging her through a house on the floor in front of his own children, watching along. And when I do think about it, and I don't think about it like just for the sake of thinking about it and making myself, miserable or depressed or anything like that, but I remember that, And the reason I say that it almost seems like it was an out-of-body experience is when I do think back on it, when I do remember it, I can see myself. I can see the doorway that I was standing into my bedroom, watching it as it happened. I can see myself just, my fists balled up, body all tensed up, clenching my teeth as hard as I could. I don't know how I didn't break my teeth. Screaming and yelling, crying, jumping up and down so hard that my knees were hitting my chest. That's how hard I was jumping. We lived in a mobile home. I have no idea how I didn't go through the crappy floor of that mobile home. That's how hard I was jumping up and down that my knees were hitting my chest. Fists clenched and balled up. Teeth gritting so hard, like I said, I don't know how I didn't break a tooth. Watching my mom be drugged through the house in a way that animals don't even deserve to be treated. That was our life growing up. That was what we lived. So what do? Well, you grow up and you become very passive aggressive. Now let me read something to you guys here out of my workbook. Passive aggressive. They say this behavioral style is really aggression manifested This behavioral style is really aggression manifested in passive ways. While the person appears to be agreeable and talks about being cooperative, the motivation for communication and action is one of control and domination. This type of behavior is an indirect expression of anger, resentment, or negative and repressed feelings, catch this, perhaps repressed for a long period of time. Let me read that again. This type of behavior is an indirect expression of anger, resentment, or negative and repressed feelings, perhaps repressed for a long period of time. In your presence and face-to-face encounters, this person may be agreeable and pleasant. That's the passive part they say in parentheses. But will use this passivity in a continued way to control and dominate you and any other situation. That's the aggressive part. They say passive-aggressive people generally lack self-confidence or self-esteem, we could say, and work out their aggression and anger through stonewalling, stubbornness, failing to follow through on promises, and finding other people and circumstances to blame for their lack of responsibility. These are frequently observed behaviors in a chemically dependent person. They lack the ability and inner confidence to control the dependency and act out the anger at their inability to do so through passive behaviors. So there you go, scapegoating. So some of the examples they give: scapegoating, revenge, not taking responsibility for difficulties, pessimistic about the future, and resentment against authority figures. So that is passive aggressiveness described as we describe it in the classes that I teach. Now, with that being said, let me see, because there was something that I was going to speak on here. About dominating. The lack self-confidence. Self-esteem. Self-esteem is usually boom on the floor for a passive aggressive person. The insecurities, they have them in spades. They what happens many times is this person creates a facade, all right, of feeling just so good about themselves and feeling so important and feeling so this and that and feeling so, what a high and mighty, or feeling whatever it is, when in actuality, the way they see themselves is this big and the way they feel is that low to the ground. But they pretend that, oh man, I'm it. I'm everything. Look at all I have. Look at all I got. Look at all I've achieved. Look at all I'm doing. Look at all this, that, and the other. But they are so unhappy inside. Most importantly, they're so unhappy with the person that they are. So that's the thing, is that really this person is taking everything out on everybody else for one simple fact. They're unhappy with themselves. They're miserable with themselves. They look at themselves in the mirror and they can't stand the person staring back. All right? That is passive aggressiveness. Now, there's a whole lot more to it. We're going to break it down. And I may not even be able to get to it in this whole video, so I may have to do a two-part video on this. And this may be part one, and then I'll do part two. Insecurities are a big one. And I'm going to give you guys an example real quickly about the insecurities. The last video that I did, I had a lot of feedback. Give me a quick second. So the last video that I did, we received excellent feedback. My wife shared it in so many different groups and places for me, so I thank her for doing so. And the messages that we received, if you're one of the people if you're watching this right now and you sent us a message or a comment in one of the Facebook posts, thank you so much. It was so encouraging. It was so beautiful to read your words. Trust me, my wife showed me every single one of them, and they just encouraged me and encouraged me to continue doing this and do it even more and do it even more often. So again, thank you. I love you. I don't even know you, but I love you. Trust me, believe me when I say it, I mean it. Thank you for taking the time to pass on encouraging words. I appreciate it more than I could ever let you know. So thank you. And if you watch this video and you have anything that you want to say, this is definitely one. Ask questions. Say, I don't know everything, but still, let's get the conversation going. Because this is about community. And you build community. If you do it organically, you build community by getting to know one another, by getting to know people that you can trust people, and you can trust them with what you want to ask or what you want to talk about. And that's what I want to do. That's a big part of this is community building, Yes, I want more followers because I want more people to watch my videos and get from. But it's not just about that. It's not just about. It's about building community. But here's the thing. I had a friend that we've known for years. We have known for 16 years because, like I said, my daughter's 17, and we've known her just a little before my daughter turned 2 years old, so about 15 years. And we were so close with her and her husband that I officiated their wedding because I am an ordained minister. But trust me, I won't get preached on you guys ever. I'm not going to use this as a platform to preach at you or shove anything down your throat religion-wise, because number one, I don't do religion. I don't like religion at all. I believe religion is one of the worst things in the world. I'm a man of God. I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not here to preach to you. That's not what this platform is for. Okay, so let's just go ahead and understand that when I say certain things, it doesn't mean that I'm about to get preachy or nothing like that. But we were going to begin a ministry together last year. We had talked about it. We had took notes on it, had meetings, and them as a couple, my wife and I, and they were going to do the music part. I was going to handle the teaching. My wife was going to oversee all the organization and admin type stuff because she's super good with all that stuff. My birthday comes. We had already put something out on Facebook, so we had kind of already put it out there publicly. Then my birthday comes, and we have a good group of people that are, people closest to me, and I announce it publicly to them. Give me a quick second while I take a drink. So now we have announced this ministry publicly, right? That was November 15th on my birthday, maybe November 16th, because I can't remember what day my birthday fell on and what day of the weekend it was that we had my birthday party, but it was between the 15th and the 17th, something like that. I think there was a 14th because I think my birthday fell on a Sunday, so we did it the day before Saturday. I hadn't heard a word one from these folks, this couple, supposedly some of our best friends that we were going to start a ministry with. Date came and went leading up to them. They had nothing to say. I had reached out to them, didn't hear nothing back. Nothing. They didn't say, hey, we need more time, we want more time, or we're going to take some time back, we're going to take some time off. We got to reschedule this. We got to, maybe set this up for next year because right now is not a good time for us. Nothing. I did not ask for an apology. I did not ask for an explanation. I did not ask for anything at all. Because the way I looked at it, that's between them and God. That's between them and whatever they have going on. They're adults. They have a right to do whatever they want. They don't owe me an explanation. They don't owe me an explanation. They don't owe me an apology. They don't owe me anything like that. And I left it alone. And I let them have their space and their peace because I didn't know what they were going through. For them to just, number one, leave me high and dry. Number two, publicly humiliate me because we had announced this, and just walk away from me like that. Walk away from something big that we had planned. Just completely walk away. Left me high and dry, publicly humiliated me. Had not heard word one, much less with an apology or an explanation or anything like that. So November to December, December to January, January to February, and then the very beginning of March. So about 3.5 months had passed. 3.5 months had passed without hearing word one from these friends of ours. And I finally heard from them. Well, from the wife, who was the one that we've known for over 15 years. After I put out my last video, I heard from her in this long-winded text. So nothing prompted her to text me when they decided to back out on us. Nothing prompted her to text me and explain themselves when she left me high and dry. Nothing prompted her to text me when they publicly humiliated me by backing out on us without any word one. But she was led to text me in this long-winded text to tell me and let me know, make me aware, because she said it's important to communicate these things, right? There's no communication on the other big thing, but there was need to communicate to me that I had hurt her feelings because she had commented on my video and I didn't comment back. All right, you're talking about self-esteem. You're talking about insecurities. You're talking about irrational beliefs. You know what I mean? That I have to, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for here? I've been using the word over and over again lately. But acknowledge you publicly on social media, for one. Like, what's the big deal about social media? We've gotten to the point where, we don't talk to people on the phone that we call our friends. We don't regularly text people that we call our friends. We don't stay in touch with people, messaging them, people that we call our friends. But the moment that you don't acknowledge me on social media, now we got a problem. Because, real friends would have said something to me on social media. So even though I haven't talked to you in 3.5 months, even though I haven't texted you, called you, nothing like that, now I feel the need to let you know that you hurt my feelings because you didn't comment on my comment. And then her comment was, hey, I love you and Teresa, big bro. And that was it. So I put the heart emoji on it, which means, okay, I love you back. Now, what she had noticed was that the two people prior to her, I did comment on. One of them was my former youth that I was always really close with. He commented, I love you. I said, I love you too. We have this thing where he calls, it's like from the old movie Three Amigos, and he calls me a guapo. I call him jefe. And so he always tells me, I love you, a guapo, and I tell him, I love you too, jefe. The next one was my nephew. My nephew that doesn't really have never really had a big time father figure in their life. Yes, he does have his dad, but he's always kind of leaned towards me in these last few years as somebody that he can just talk to about certain things and share certain things with and become really close with our family. I hope they don't come out wrong because my brother-in-law watches this. I don't want him to take that the wrong way. I love you, bro. Please don't take offense to what I said if it came out kind of choppy. I'm just trying to get through it this as quickly as I can. But long story short, my nephew is pretty close with me, has a lot of respect for me, has a lot of love for me. And he said, I love you, uncle. And I said what I always say to my nephews. I love you too, nephew. I was calling them, hey, nephew, what you doing, nephew? And they call me Uncle D, Uncle Damien. And then came her comment. And at that point, I was like, I may get a lot of comments going forward, so I can't keep responding to each one of these. Well, then after her comment came in, then somebody commented something that was a little more wordy, so it warranted a response. So I gave them a response. Then I believe one or maybe two comments on there that were the comment, if you see my fingers, if you get a comment that long on something that you post on social media, well, that usually warrants a response. So I commented back on those two because they were about this thick, this long was their comment. Very positive things. And not only that, but they were commenting about how the video was encouraging to them because they had been going through a depression for a really long time and been dealing with this and been dealing with that and been struggling with this and been struggling with that. So of course I got to give them words, not just a thumbs up. So her thing said, I love you, big bro, and I gave her the heart emoji, which means I love you back. And everybody else's was really wordy, so I had to say something back. But number one, didn't even watch the video because in her text, she made it seem as if the whole video that I posted, I went on and on about not having any friends and how nobody cared about me. If you watched that video, you heard me over and over acknowledge the fact that I'm thankful for my support system, that I know that I have people around me that have my back, that I appreciate. I'm grateful for those people that have my back and are always there for me and are supporting me, cheering me on, pushing me on, whatever it is. So I didn't sit there and go on and on about woe is me, nobody cares. But that was what she said. I've noticed in some of your posts, you've commented about how, you're always there for people and people don't reciprocate this, that, and the other. Well, sometimes I just post things like randomly out of my mind, like seriously, because of things I've been through or things that people tell me that they've been through, and it just kind of stays stewing in my mind. And then I formulate a post, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's what I'm feeling in the moment. It's just all of this stuff that people have said, all these things that I've seen in my life and experienced, and it just comes together in something that I'm like, that would sound really good in a post right now to be encouraging to people. So she's been watching what I've been saying on Facebook. She watched at least part of the video or whatever. But not enough to really honestly realize that I didn't sit here for 50 minutes saying, woe is me, nobody cares about me, nobody loves me, nobody's there for me. Otherwise, she wouldn't have said a lot of what she said in the text message. But keep that in mind when you're talking about irrational beliefs, when you're talking about self-esteem, when you're talking about insecurities, big time insecurities. 3.5 months that they left me at the altar. 3.5 months that they publicly humiliated me. 3.5 months that they did not follow through with plans that we had talked about in great deal and detail and planned and had meetings about and everything. But what finally caused her to text me and communicate, because as she said, it's important to communicate about things, was the pettiest of petty things. Not the important stuff, not the big stuff, but a very petty thing. So I don't even really have time to get into what I want to get into. So that's why I know I'm going to have to do a second video so we can talk about irrational beliefs and things of that nature. And here's the thing, because when you're a person that was hurt by someone or wronged by someone, and you tell a story that was from 10, 11 years ago over and over and over and over again, and you tell it as if it just happened last week, that's a problem. Something is not right here. Especially when it's a story that, nobody even remembers that moment. Nobody but you talks about it. Nobody but you brings it up, but you feel the need to bring it up over and over again, like it validates you in some way. That was what I was looking for earlier. Needing, validation on social media all the time is such an unhealthy thing, and just shows insecurities like no other. And here's the thing on social media. I'm going to finish on this because I'm going to have to reform where I'm at and what I've already covered, and get into another video here. Probably tomorrow I'll do part 2 of this. But social media many times, unfortunately, knowingly or unknowingly, people use it as a measuring stick, and people measure themselves up against what people put out on social media. And what does that do? Many times that leaves us feeling inadequate. That leaves us feeling like we're just not good enough, and like we're not over here because that's for everybody else. Look, they're doing this, they're doing that. But what we don't understand is that this is what I'm getting. I'm just going to say it. Somebody in one of my classes one time said that they were told by someone really close to them. They said the problem with social media is that we compare our insides to other people's outsides. All right, I'm going to say that again. Social media causes us to do this. Compare our insides to other people's outsides. What does that mean? That means I know all my flaws. I know all my warts. I know all the things that I dislike about me, hate about me, loathe about me, love, all of that stuff about me. All my just everything that I wish I could throw away in the trash that I just don't like about me. And I compare it to the image that this person wants to have seen. They may, for all you know, they're the most miserable person in the world, but they put out there how they went on another shopping spree, and they went on another trip, and they bought this, and they bought that, and going on this family trip, and this, and that. Yet, for all you know, they're getting ready to go through a divorce. They're spending all this money here and there. They may be on the brink of bankruptcy. They're this, that, and the other, but they're both cheating on each other, or both spouses are cheating on each other. Right? But yet it's not good for you to just be in a faithful relationship, have healthy children, have a roof over your head, food in your house. When I say you, I'm just speaking generally, and usually I'm speaking to myself. But that really hit home when I heard him say that, because I remember I was already into my 40s at that moment. I'm 44 now. And I got to the point where I already owned a business. I owned my business, and I would see all these people doing this and all these people doing that on Facebook, and I would say, dude, look at what all they're doing. Look at what all they have and where they're going, what they're buying. What are you doing with yourself? You're a loser, dude. You've got nothing. You're going nowhere. And look at all these people and the fun that they're having and everything that they're doing. So I had to stop that. I had to stop allowing my mind to do that to me, because otherwise it would have gotten into my heart. But that is one of the biggest issues with social media, is that it causes us to compare our insides to other people's outsides, and it is an unfair. It will always and forever be an unfair comparison. So we have to stop doing that. We have to stop falling in the trap of comparing our brokenness that we see every day, our flaws that we stare at every day, all the things that we dislike and even hate about ourselves, loathe about ourselves every single day, our bad habits, our bad this, our bad that we could be working on instead of just staring at and comparing to other people's, seemingly perfect images they put out there. It's not fair to ourselves. It's not fair, and we have to stop doing it to ourselves. So always remember that saying. We compare our insides to other people's outsides the next time that you try or want to compare yourself to someone else and you start getting down in the dumps because you aren't where they are and you don't have what they are. Because yes, grown people do it too. Not just kids. Grown-ups do it too. So we need to stop acting like we don't do that kind of stuff. Not everybody, but some. So anyway, with that said, like I said, obviously 55 minutes is more than enough time. I hope you all take the time to watch this and took the time to watch this and listen to it, because I touched on some stuff that needs more expounding on, that needs more explaining, but there was stuff that I wanted to go ahead and get in there so that I can have touched on it that way. Then when I get into the next part of the video, I'll explain more about it, talk more about it, because like I said, I didn't even get to the point of why I spoke about the family violence in my home and what it led me to have to be so controlling and manipulating and lying all the time and things like that. Well, I explained it in some of this, but I want to get into it more to talk about it personally and how it affected my life personally and what it did to me and how it damaged so much in my life and relationships and marriages and or not marriages, my marriage, because I am still married. So I want to do some of that, but I hope this was at least a little bit to make you maybe ask me some questions, shoot me some questions, shoot me some comments, and more importantly, come back for the second video. So I hope you see this. I hope you watch this. I hope it's not too long that you didn't decide to listen to the whole thing. Please do. Please do, because I want to reach as many people as I can, and I want as many people reaching out to me as they can. That way I can listen. That way I can learn something. So with that being said, much love from the Third Coast Sports, Entertainment, and Life. Damien Castillo, your host. I will see you with part 2 of this video as soon as possible. Until then, be good to one another. And more importantly, or I should say more importantly, as importantly, be extra good to yourself. Love you. Peace out.